Look, I know we all trying to get our holiday photos off right now, me included. We got the snow, the lights, the trees, all the basics, but you can level that up at Sweet Home Chicago. That's the gingerbread-inspired holiday destination at the shops at Northbridge. Among the Instagram-worthy pieces, they got a full black and white house by 2D World. Seriously, it's gonna make you feel like you in a comic book, plus an entire Chicago-inspired gingerbread village. And you know they got drinks, apps, a DJ, and even retailer deals for your holiday shopping. Check it out at the shops at Northbridge on the Mag Mile, and you can learn more at the shopsatnorthbridge.com/sweethomeschicago. You don't want to miss one of Chicago's favorite holiday traditions this year, Zoo Lights at Lincoln Park Zoo, presented by Invesco, QQQ, and ComEd. You can wander through over 3 million lights and glowing displays, grab a friend and hop on the Ferris wheel, or, just stroll along with a hot cocoa or 2 or 3 and take it all in. Plus, they've got special events like decorating Christmas cookies. You can pop by when Mrs. Claus is there, or bring the entire family for an elf movie night. Zoo Lights at Lincoln Park Zoo open now through January 4th. Learn more and get tickets at lpzoo.org/zoolights. Today on CityCast Chicago, we have covered a lot of political news in 2025, my friends, but with an election on the horizon next year, we're wondering who will emerge as Chicago's biggest power players. It's Monday, December 15th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Before we jump into the power rankings, I want to give a huge thank you to every single person who became a CityCast Chicago neighbor during our end of the year campaign. Seriously, we appreciate you. We see you. Your support means everything to our team. From the time we started this podcast 5 years ago, we knew not only were we going to have to build a podcast and a newsletter worth listening to and reading, but we're going to have to build something that people felt good about investing in, something they wanted to see continue in the city, something they wanted to take part in, to pull up at events, right? Whether they're live podcast tapings or anniversary celebrations or tours downtown. We wanted to build something where listeners and readers wanted to meet each other, wanted to get opportunities to be in community with one another. We wanted to build something that people felt good about sharing with their friends and family, people who were moving to the city, people who lived in other places, but Chicago was always in their heart. And I'd like to think over the last 5 years, we have done that in some regard. And to be honest, every time somebody signs up to become a CityCast Chicago neighbor, it validates that mission, right? That is good news for us. But I can't lie to you. It's a big, big city. And luckily enough, we have a decently big audience. And we want to hit our membership campaign goals. We officially wrapped on Friday, but we still got room for more people to sign up. If just 20 of you join right now at the beginning of this episode, we will meet our goal, head into the new year, knowing that we got the support we need to keep us going strong. And we've been hitting our goals all year, y'all. I just want to be transparent, right? I know you get a lot of people right now, a lot of organizations, a lot of folks who are asking for your time, your support right now. And I just want you to take a minute and think back on all the times you have listened to the podcast, read the newsletter, interacted with us on social. And if you got it like that, and if at any point we made you laugh, made you put us on with your friends about, or you want to tell people about what you learned listening to us, if we've ever suggested an event that you went to and you had a damn good time and you met new people, if in any way we have made you feel more connected to the city, then I'm asking you again, if you got it like that, to help support this work so we can do more of it going into the new year. You become a member at membership.citycast.fm at just $10 a month. And in addition to that warm, fuzzy feeling you finna get supporting your friends over here, you also gonna get the perks, right? And yes, that includes the CityCast Chicago beanie. But seriously, this right here is your last opportunity. If you've been here, you know how we do this, right? So please head over to membership.citycast.fm. I got some beanies left. I'm trying to get rid of them. Okay, let's get into it. Way back in early January, I brought these amazing people in to do an episode. The Tribune's AD Quig and TV host Brandon Pope, outlining some of Chicago and Chicagoland's most powerful political figures. And in some ways, I keep it real, seems like a lot has changed. And in other ways, to be very transparent and very honest, a lot of ways that maybe not much has changed. So let's see where we are today with this power ranking. Quig, welcome back to the building.
Thank you so much for having me. January feels like 8 years ago.
Yes, it does. Pope, it's good to see you, my guy.
Hey, what's good, man? Always good to be here.
So back 8 years ago in January, you both said that our most powerful executive right now is Governor J.B. Pritzker, as opposed to Mayor Brandon Johnson or Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle. Is it still the case that Pritzker is our most sort of powerful and notable executive? Quig, I'll toss the ball to you.
I think so. I mean, this time or last time we were talking about this, the city was asking the state for a bunch of money after a bad budget process. Once again, we're in a bad budget process. And as folks may or may not know, this year's budget relies on a $1 billion TIF surplus. Half will go to CPS. And long-term, watchdogs have warned this is not sustainable. If you keep draining TIFs, at some point the property tax money will stop being there to fill it up. And when I've spoken to CTU, for example, about this, like, hey, we can't keep doing this every year, they've said, well, this is a bridge until CPS gets more money from the state. And that might be more evidence-based funding from the district itself, or it might be some kind of pension help. But at the end of the day, the state seems to be the one thing people are looking at, and the governor and the leaders in the legislature are still the people that have the purse strings. And most other places are either in crisis or can't just like ship money over. We also have not seen the mayor's relationship with the governor improve a ton in this time. This time in January, it was not great. There's no public suggestion that they are buddy-buddy. The most recent example was the governor almost immediately saying the mayor's head tax was a bad idea. And this is not because the governor is opposed to taxing the wealthy. This was the guy who tried and failed to pass graduated income tax, so rich folks paid more. This is just like he thinks it's bad for business. And his comments on that kind of like put a damper on things, which you know is an indication of power. But I want to know what Brandon thinks.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Pritzker, I think, is still the top dog. I think he's still unquestionably, like you mentioned, the purse strings matter. And the relationship with the mayor, you're right, it has not improved overall. While I do think, though, that Mayor Johnson has done some things or had some things happen over the past year that may have helped his popularity a little bit, which helps give him a little extra boost in power. But as we're seeing in the budget fight right now, may not mean much right now. He's done more press conferences. He's done more media. He's gone to more untraditional podcasts. He's focusing on Gen Z a lot. The young people he talks about a lot. He's actually going to have conversations with them. He's doing events that are a little unconventional. He was at that viral quarter zip meetup of young black men earlier.
Sean Michelle.
Yeah, over with Sean Michelle's. That's something you don't see mayors usually. So it does feel like he's grown in the sense of like he's learning to tap and go harder into the base of support and finding different avenues and channels and focusing on digital media. But as far as that concentration of power and wielding it, this head tax thing with the budget, that's he's standing 10 toes down on it. And it seems pretty unpopular, meaning we could, if he, really holds firm, could face our first shutdown here in the city in wow. I mean, the prospects of that got our fingers going.
I'm doing like my evil, that evil guy in Beauty and the Beast, who's like trying to get money from Belle's father. I'm doing those fingers.
I mean, and on the flip side, if he wins that fight, that would be a huge win, a huge notch in his belt to hopefully get through another contentious kind of back and forth budget battle. But getting his maybe biggest obstacle through the city council. I mean, to both of your points this year, if we're speaking just, I think in terms of popularity, Governor Pritzker has continued to do more national press. His desire for, the White House at some point, seems pretty strong from the way that he's moving. He has been one of the most vocal opposition leaders. I don't know how successful he would be, where he ranks amongst front runners, but I think as he heads into yet another gubernatorial election, he's clearly likely to win that in a landslide. And on the other side with Mayor Brandon Johnson, I feel this time in January, I was more skeptical of his chance. But as you've just alluded to, Brandon, this year has been one of him really settling into the role.
I think where they overlap is they both got a very important Trump bump during the ICE deployment. Their national prominence rose. They were all over national media every week. It was very popular among Democrats to push back against this ICE deployment. To that point, we could obviously see what power Pritzker had was limited there. He could not stop ICE from coming here. We still have the National Guard deployed here until the end of the year. Not deployed, but they're like sitting idle, and the governor can't do anything about that. I agree that the mayor has gotten a lot more comfortable, a little less defensive, or more poised in his defensiveness might be the way to put it. But their popularity and favorability levels are still pretty far apart, depending on what polling you're looking at. And the other thing we need to be cognizant of is who his new and old friends are and where they ultimately stand. I mean, CTU right next to him, SEIU further apart. There's been quite a bit of labor division about this budget. And labor is who he relies on. Progressives are who he relies on. And there's, of course, we're going to talk about Dems in disarray at some point, but I think there is still a good amount of disarray in the Black Caucus and City Council, Progressive Caucus and City Council, and among progressives, like more broadly in the city of Chicago. And there's just like a lot more vultures. Vultures isn't the right word, but like potential competitors circling and poking holes or prodding or criticizing kind of every move the mayor makes in a way that isn't really happening with the governor from fellow Democrats.
Have any of those competitors at this point positioned themselves well in terms of kind of getting more notoriety across the city of Chicago at all?
I mean, you guys, like, I pay attention to this stuff like very closely. I'm curious what you guys have seen. There are people that I'm watching, and there's people that are getting plugged directly into my feed because I'm a psycho. So, like, I'm seeing videos from Susana Mendoza, for example, that has, like, 20 likes on TikTok, but I'm getting fed it immediately because they know that I'm paying attention to, like, mayoral challengers. So I'm more interested in, like, if this is coming across your feeds naturally or, like, your friends' feeds.
Yeah, I might be similar to you because I'm one of the 20 people getting this is out of
Right?
But, Maria Pappas, Cook County Treasurer, Janulius, people are still kind of front running those names. I don't, in your opinion, are any of them well positioned to challenge the mayor? At some point, some aldermanic candidates will come out, but, historically, they don't necessarily fare well trying to get to the fifth floor in that regard.
They're all maneuvering. If you go to any major event right now, you're going to see a who's who of who's kind of, making their play and shaking their hands and trying to get in motion right now. Mendoza may be in good position.
Illinois comptroller.
Yeah, she might be in the best position. She is, as AD mentions, using social media in a way that is pretty engaging.
Very candy based. A lot of the stuff involves candy.
A lot of like props and examples. Exactly.
Yeah.
But look, that's the type of stuff we saw with Zohran Mamdani in New York. Like social media like that helps voters and helps appeal to people in a way and helps break down issues in a more common sense way. And she's constantly going after the actions of the Johnson administration, probably more than a lot of people are right now, at least more ferociously and more consistently.
She can do that because she's not running for re-election as comptroller. She just has like the time and space to like kind of think about this full time. The thing that I'm going to be interested in is the reason she did not do well in the mayoral election previously is because all of this Ed Burke stuff blew up during that mayoral election, and she was very closely tied to Ed Burke. So this time, does no one care anymore because political corruption is like less the thing that we all care about? And two, does she go much further to the right? I mean, it's clear that she's further to the right than Brandon Johnson. Very few people are further to the left than Brandon Johnson. But does she do so in a way that's helpful or hurtful? Do the people of Chicago, does she align herself very strongly, as strongly as she has previously, with police? And how do progressives respond to that? If ICE returns, how does she respond to that? She was not super loud during these ICE protests. She was not one of the people like getting pepperballed in the face at Broadview. And we just don't know what's going to matter to the average Chicago voter by the time that election rolls around. But I'll be very interested to see how she positions herself on that left-right spectrum. And like, I don't want anyone to confuse her with Zoran Mamdani. They are not. They do not sync up.
Not a one-to-one comparison.
Whereas you have Secretary of State Alexei Janulius, who, wasn't outside of Broadview, but was saying he wants to hold, ICE and Border Patrol agents accountable for like swapping out license plates, the rollout of the digital ID. I don't know, how much that matters, but, those are probably some of his sort of most recent headlines. You already know what time of year it is. Toy soldiers, sugar plums, and a rat king. The Joffrey Ballet's The Nutcracker is making its way back from December 5th through the 28th at Lyric Opera House. Joffrey's Nutcracker is one of Chicago's most beloved holiday traditions. Join Marie and her Nutcracker prince on a fantastical adventure in Tony Award-winning Christopher Wheeldon's kaleidoscope reimagining set amidst the spectacle of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Marie awakes one Christmas Eve to be swept away by a flurry of snowflakes to the dreamlike fairgrounds of the world's Columbian Exposition, and she embarks on a magical adventure you'll never forget. Seriously, the Trib calls it unforgettable. Tickets for the Nutcracker are on sale now at joffrey.org. As the end of the year fast approaches, the thing I find myself holding on to the tightest are the memories with family and friends. More specifically, the pictures and videos of those memories, from weddings to family reunions to concerts to just nights hanging out in the backyard. And if you like me and you want to share the gift of those moments this holiday season, then consider grabbing yourself an Aura frame. It's basically a digital picture frame where you can upload hundreds of photos and videos directly from your phone. And the best part is it can be customized for different people with different albums and memories to choose from. So it's one gift that can feel extra special no matter who you grab it for, and you can upload the pictures and videos before they ever open it. Visit auraframes.com now to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames when you use my promo code CityCast at checkout. That's auraframes.com, and the promo code is CityCast. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. You can support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Let's think, a little more national significance as well. When we talked last, local Democrats were in disarray as we approached the inauguration. We were trying to figure out, how they were going to work with some of our national representatives to push back against this administration. That was when Pritzker gave that press conference sort of airing out his issues with the fifth floor, even though, that was largely over hemp regulations at the time. Have Dems been able to get it together since then?
On a national level, still a work in progress, right? I think I think they have seen signs for sure of positive trends. Everyone had their eyes on those special elections in Virginia and in New Jersey. You've had, the mayor's win in Miami, which was like, the first Democrat to win in, was it 30 years? Pretty impressive stuff there. However, the question still is, how much will this translate into the midterm? We still got a lot of time to go, and a lot of things that could happen.
When you think about our local elected officials, the number who are stepping down, it seems like a lot of our elder statespeople, the Jan Schakowskis, the Danny Davis,
Dick Durbin,
right? These are 90s babies, right? They're all sort of leaving. So where does that put the kind of political power hierarchy when you think about Chicagoland and sort of Illinois statewide senators and Congress people?
primary season always highlights differences, right? So I think we're going to see this Dems in disarray storyline play out until March. And I will be interested to see, every district is a little bit different and every candidate is a little bit different. But I think when we know who wins those races, we'll have a better idea of like where Illinois Democrats are generally leaning. Some of these races, there's less big differences between these candidates. Like, this was my first reaction to the Senate race. It's like Raja, Juliana Stratton, Robin Kelly, how are they going to differentiate themselves from each other? Because broadly, they agree on so much. Whoever gets like a huge commanding win in some of these really crowded congressional elections, I think we're going to start seeing as kind of front runner players, whoever wins the Senate race. But it's a long way. And part of the problem I've been hearing from candidates is like, it's going to be so noisy. There are so many open races. There's going to be so much mail, so many ads, so many different controversies for people to be following or not following or respond to, that I'm a little nervous about how us in the media will be able to cover all of this in a way that does a good service to voters, and in a way where we can conclusively say this race was about X, Y, and Z, and the voters chose Z. And like, I don't know if it's so crowded that we won't be able to get to that kind of conclusion, you know?
Brandon, back in January, you said that current 8th District Representative Raja Krishnamurthy was one of the underrated kind of power players in our area, and now he's running for Senate. Do you think he has a chance in that race, and what do you think that does for kind of his local profile? And I guess the same question for Stratton or Kelly.
Raja's got a significant lead when it comes to the fundraising. The endorsements kind of going both ways in a sense. But I think the key thing here, and the conversation that's been bubbling for a while for Stratton and Robin Kelly, is this idea of, are you splitting up the black vote? And by doing that, are you benefiting and just kind of handing it to Raja Krishnamurthy in that sense? Or if it was truly a 1v1 race, would Stratton have an edge because of Governor Pritzker and things like that? So, overall, I think that's the landscape right now. How the ad buys go out, Raja ads are everywhere. Stratton has not gotten much into the game yet. They are planning a big TV buy here soon. Same for Robin Kelly. We're going to see a lot of these ads nonstop. Be prepared.
The Lieutenant Governor Stratton, like you said, has key endorsements from Governor Pritzker, former first congressional representative Bobby Rush, former Secretary of State Jesse White. And so we'll see. I mean, last time we also spent a good chunk of time talking about how Tony Preckwinkle has kind of been a bit of a kingmaker as head of county Dems and now has a challenger. Is that a serious challenger?
Short answer, yes. I mean, for the same reason we're talking about Raja Krishnamurthy, we're taking him so seriously because he is a gifted fundraiser. Brendan Riley, also a gifted fundraiser. His struggle, and we've seen him up on TV as well, is going to be getting his name recognition out in the suburbs and kind of beyond the downtown core.
He's been in the city council since 2007.
Correct. So, I think he's a very familiar name to frequent consumers of the news based in Chicago. I think his struggle is going to be finding a salient issue to really punch her on. He has been trying to make it her general competence managing this Tyler Technologies upgrade at the county, which the story I wrote about this a few months ago was like 1 billion words long. It's not an easy issue to put on a mailer or in a commercial. It's difficult to explain. There is blame to go around. And a lot of the things that were most problematic about it, i.e. making property tax bills late, has kind of been fixed. Like, it's lost its salience a little bit. They got the bills out. So I'll be interested to see if he finds some other way in. And as usual, she had an extremely chill budget this year, has been getting ratings upgrades left and right, no new taxes, fines, or fees. She is one of the only people in earnest working to tackle property tax reform generally, whether they make a significant difference in people's tax burden. This is not an immediate thing. This is like a classic Tony Preckwinkle. This is going to take like 5 years kind of thing.
Messed up your property taxes, even if that's false advertisement. I mean, that could be salient as people are still trying to figure out how to pay the bills, and then they'll be preparing themselves for the next round. But here's where we may get into some shifts, right? We asked which council caucus is most powerful at the top of the year. The Progressive Caucus was letting Johnson know they wouldn't be a rubber stamp, right? And so we talked a little bit about how the Black Caucus maintained its influence. Right now, you got a sect of alders coming together to push an alternative budget. You know, which caucus right now do you think carries the most influence? And has the Progressive Caucus managed to kind of get it together? And has Johnson kind of got them to realign in a lot of ways?
I think there was a period of some alignment during the ICE raids and things happening around that. A lot of solidarity around that for the Progressive Caucus. I don't think it did much because, as we're seeing in this budget fight, it's not looking good with their biggest salient issues they want addressed. And taking over the finish line for Mayor Johnson with the budget, and the key thing being that corporate head tax.
Are even Progressive Caucus members against it? Or are you saying they are saying you need to get that through?
I'm saying most of the Progressive Caucus is at least aligned on the head tax itself. What I'm saying is, how much power do they actually have here when it comes to this budget fight? It's iffy. It doesn't look like they're in a good position to get that provision actually through if they're going to get a budget passed at all. It seems like the key sticking point, especially with these alders who have come out against and that number seeming to grow and meetings scheduled throughout the week. So as far as who's still got the most power, I still think it's, overall the Black Caucus in that block. I don't think the Progressive Caucus has firmed up much more power than what they had when we last talked about it.
Agreed. And I was like, to our point about the disarray and like disagreement between certain members of the caucus and the mayor's office, at the start of the budget, it was noteworthy to me that the Progressive Caucus came out and did a press conference together, immediately saying, we kind of like this. This is pretty good, especially after so much like headbutting. Part of the what's picking away at that, like what unity the Progressive Caucus did have, is like there are tiny issues that they had with the mayor's overall proposal. The emergence of this common sense caucus or corporate caucus is very interesting to me. We've seen them vote similarly on a lot of things, but the fact that they've gotten together and like actually proposed a budget amendment instead of putting out a press release saying, here are the bullet points of the things we want in this budget, is like, I know it seems like not a big deal, but it's a big deal that they're like actually pushing legislation and that they have, they are bolstered by some of these outside business groups that have thrown like millions of dollars into funds that are like pushing back, helping foment public opposition to the mayor's budget. And it's like, we have polls coming left and right about these, but it's just like a lot more
them legislating
activity and influence. And yeah, they're legislating. Look at them go.
Some version of their job.
I mean, that's what you want to see politicians do, right? Is not just complain, but actually have some solutions.
Yeah. And we wrote a story at the beginning of the budget that was like, it's really difficult for them to legislate on something as complicated as a budget. It's a huge document. They don't have their own like independent analysis. They don't necessarily have like the legal folks who know where to stick things in the budget so they could draft their own legislation.
And it's a lot of them with a bunch of very different concerns, right? And
yes.
And at the end of the day, a lot of them are going to fall back on like, how, what does this do for my ward? Absolutely.
I think like this budget, I'm not going to say more so than any budget, but like it's up there in terms of I'm cool with a lot of things except for this one thing. Like so many people have so many different red lines that it's making this extremely complicated.
And in the end, no one's going to be happy.
No.
Ever.
No.
It's never that way, is it?
No, I was reading old Tribune coverage from like daily budget years, and it would be like, aldermen were outraged about this and that, and then they ultimately like voted yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we're talking pretty generally about like this the conflict, the disarray, the back and forth among blocks that we would maybe expect to be united. Is this actually unusual, or is it always like this in some form or fashion?
I think this is like the most hardened form of that, if that makes sense. Brandon's nodding. I can't say it right.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it this way. I don't think the mayor's comparison of it to the council wars of Harold Washington is accurate.
No.
I don't think it's that extreme. But to have 27 alders, come together, have an alternative plan, I think that is where the difference is. And also to see the different level of difference too. Like even like a Alderman Ronnie Mosley, right? A man who's a progressive alderman who even he has his own little, I'm stepping off here. Okay, I'll join back in. Depending on what's added, what's taken away. His big thing being the garbage fees. He doesn't want to see those raised.
I will say this is actual democratic debate. They're going back and forth, like, critiquing each person's proposal, putting forth their own, as opposed to a racist coup that Harold Washington was dealing with. Well, I'm interested to go ahead.
I was just going to say some of this. There is, no matter what, going to be like, my ward doesn't want this thing, but I'm interested that so many aldermen are like, let's worry about our credit rating. Let's not kick the can on this one when they have opted to kick the can a million times. So the fact that some people's red line is like, we don't want to borrow for settlements. We don't want to borrow for back pay for this fire contract. We do want to make this full advance pension payment. Like people lining up on like, I don't think people fake line up on like fiscal responsibility all the time. But the fact that like fiscal responsibility is some people's red line is notable to me because traditionally aldermen would be like path of least resistance, thing that won't tick off my residents. And to some extent, they're still doing that. Like this is why we're seeing we still have opposition to the property tax. We still have opposition to the garbage fee. And that's like in direct response to what their residents want. But the fact that they're like red line, fiscal responsibility, ratings agencies.
You all's picks for most powerful alder as we look even deeper into the city council: Jason Irvin in the 28th and Pat Dow in 3rd. They still have their committee posts in budget and finance respectively. Did any other alders flex their influence this year, especially as we had, one elder statesperson step down, passing the mantle to their namesake, and then another take up a big role in parks?
It's a tough one.
I was going to say I was referring to Walter Burnett and Ramirez Rosa.
I mean, we've seen plenty of people try, but there's been so much, like this zoning battle that we had, like who's going to run zoning, is just so indicative of how dispersed power is right now. It's difficult for anyone to flex much of anything. So I would agree that Pat Dowell and Jason Irvin are still kind of, they still run the two most important committees. They are still really important gatekeepers to this budget and other huge important issues to the city, like police misconduct settlements.
It's a tough question to answer with the alderman thing because, I still think what we said in the past is true. And like AD said, it's so dispersed. Different aldermen have different moments. Riley has moments. Hopkins, when he's talking about the curfews and when he's talking about, violence within the downtown area, has his moments, though he hasn't been able to get to the finish line, an actual curfew ordinance when it comes to these teen takeovers and things like that. Nicole Lee, quietly, emerges with some influence, right?
The sponsor of the alternative budget proposal.
Absolutely. And, there's been talks about Jason Irvin, if he were to, not come to certain meetings and protests, Nicole Lee would be able to step in proxy. So like she is building something as well. But I still think at the end of the day, Dow, she got it. And Jason Irvin, he got it.
So then when we get into Chicago's sister agency, CPS, CTA, Parks, and all three of the people we talked about at the time, we had this conversation out the door, Quig, at the time, you argued Pedro Martinez was the most influential because of his command of the news cycle, and Dorval Carter just from pure staying power.
LOL.
Um,
He left that day, right?
yeah, Dorval Carter, the day we published, stepped down. Rosa Escareno at the time, you said was just kind of chilling in parks. And since has been replaced by Alder Ramirez Rosa. I think by way of having a full-time person, it would seem that like maybe Parks, the head of Parks,
by default,
by default. But I guess the question is, which is the most pressing? Because it seemed that CPS was up to finalists. We don't know where that is. We also have CHA, and at the time, Walter Burnett was seemingly marked for that role. Didn't take over. Where do you think the priority as well as the process is when we think about CTA, CPS, even CHA?
Yeah, I think it's weird that with CTA, you have so much happening on the transit front when it comes to the debates over funding, new developments, things being shut down for 3 years that are going to upset people. And we have nobody who's actually appointed yet. So they're going to come into all this.
And we're like running out of time for the mayor to keep controlling that appointment.
Yeah, exactly. That too. So the CTA one, I think for a lot of people was probably one of the more pressing ones. Education is always going to be a top for people too, because that directly impacts your kids. But I'm just looking at everything that happens with transportation and the crisis, you could say, that transportation is in. There's been some funny proposals. How long could you kick the can down the road in terms of fully funding and expanding this out and maintaining the system, keeping it safe, the threats from the federal government about restricting funding based off your security staffing and all that? I think that one's like there's a glaring lack of somebody in that position.
I'm with you. Part of me doesn't want to give like a straight answer to this. It's just so noteworthy that these huge sister agencies have had sustained vacancies, like how long they've been empty and the various reasons they've been empty. These are things where like I feel like Rahm Emanuel and Daley would have like a punch list ready to go. Like if someone left, it was like this guy next, almost immediately. And that, sometimes that did not work out, but for the most part, they were like ready to go in terms of appointments to various agencies. We're seeing this at many city departments as well. Like it's sustained vacancies there. And that just, that's a reflection of the mayor's power and readiness, but also like, think about the work. Obviously, there's dedicated staff that has been at these agencies for a very long time who could still do the work and carry out their jobs. But you miss having that fixture who is out, for example, in the Springfield debate saying, hey, no, CTA wants this, and we don't think such and such other agency should have that. Or we want a certain number of voting members on whatever new thing we set up. Or someone able to go out and punch back at the Trump administration when they say your minority and women-based hiring on contracts was a federal requirement. These were your rules. Like not being able to have like a public figure out there pushing back and asserting the mayor's or the city's wishes in a lot of these huge debates is just like a glaring absence to me.
Are any of these interim leaders well positioned? Because I know at least in the CPS push, current interim leader Macklin King wasn't originally noted as a finalist. Right now, you've got interim CTA chief Nora Learshin, the current interim head of CHA. I guess my question is, why haven't any of them just sort of been ushered into the position, even if it's just to just put a sort of permanent head on it, even if you want to kind of make some changes down the road?
Well, I can tell you for one of them, they don't want it.
Okay.
So that could be the case for all of them.
Who is the Chicago politician who serves at the head of like multiple city agencies? They used to just call him in and just put him. He served at the head
Forrest
of CPS.
Claypool?
Yeah. I was like, are there no modern day Forrest Claypools who just want to lead a little bit of everything? Want to be chief of staff? Want to be head of CPS? Want to?
That's a blast from the past right there. Forrest Claypool,
head of CTA.
I mean, I can't think of who would be Brandon Johnson's Mr. Fix-It, And that was like the big criticism when he came in too, right? It was like he's not ready to go with department appointments, because when you come from the world of organizing, you don't come from the world of bureaucracy. You're not like, oh yeah, my buddy from such and such, we were on the board together of this thing. You come as an organizer. That it's not your strength to have a bunch of buddies who are like, I worked at McKinsey and now I'm ready to run this department.
Man, public schools, parks, CTA, and chief of staff, and was on Barack. Jesus, that man had weight. Yeah, maybe we don't need no more Claypools. That's probably the point.
I was gonna say he did not. He left under an ethics cloud.
I know. Mm-hmm.
So
I asked the question more from ambition. Yeah, more from ambition than results based, I suppose. So, given we got elections, we got major vacancies, we still got a budget to get through, who do you think will emerge as power players in 2026 across the broader Chicagoland?
My dumb and simple answer is like whoever wins in March.
If we're thinking again in terms of hierarchy, what position, which open Congress seat is the most coveted? Like which, we like we said earlier, Pritzker is likely to go through. What is the open seat that is, the most close to kind of power and influence for the challengers?
I think Durbin's Senate seat definitely gets a lot of intrigue for sure, especially because of who Dick Durbin is and how long he served. Whoever hops into that role is going to have a lot of attention on how they lead and legislate, especially in a time where the National Democratic Party is really trying to bolster themselves up as the opposition to Trump, but also trying to offer some sort of platform beyond just we're anti-Trump.
I think some of these congressionals shake out, Jesse Jackson Jr., the race to replace Jan Schakowsky are ones that I'm watching just because like they're really interesting, not necessarily like so-and-so is building an organization.
Where is Jesse running in the second?
Second, I want to say.
So it'd be him and his brother in 1 and 2.
Right.
Pretty much all of Black Chicago and the South suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I'm watching the assessor's race and board of review races. But I don't, power players to come. I'm not from the assessor's race, I don't think.
Hey, I am sure we will have both of y'all in when it's time to really hunker down and break down this primary season. So again, I really appreciate y'all making time for CityCast Chicago. TV host and NABJ president Brandon Pope, I appreciate you making time today.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here.
And the Tribune's AD Quig, always a pleasure.
Anytime.
Before we get out of here, I got so many new neighbors to thank. Oh my God, my heart is full right now. Jillian L., Sarah C., Jonathan L., Monica H. I appreciate y'all. Kim M., Sue M., Lorraine K., Annette S. Thank you. Abby R., Mark B., Joseph S. I feel like I'm on a telethon right now. Jamak N. and Timothy G. We really appreciate y'all. Even if you just wanted the beanie or you wanted to support the podcast, wherever you fall on that spectrum of love and support, I appreciate you. I know giving over even just $10 a month it is a big deal, especially with how many things are asking for our money at all times. So I want you to know, thank you. We appreciate it. Now, I said at the top of the episode, we needed about 20 people. I'm hoping at this point, I don't need as many, but I'm going to keep that number the same. I just need 20 more of y'all. And if you join today, you're going to get the CityCast Chicago beanie and all the other perks included, but you can only do it at membership.citycast.fm. You know, I can't let you go without some good news. This Friday, you can catch me celebrating Chicago's very own The Cool Kids. They're hosting a concert for their latest project, High Top Fade, at none other than Empty Bottle. I'll drop a link for tickets in the show notes. As always, I appreciate you for listening, reading, signing up to become a CityCast Chicago neighbor, sharing this with your people. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. I'm going to talk to you then. Peace.